Good morning, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. Happy Friday. I hope you are ready to have some fun. It is me, your Wrestling Inc. manager, Nick Hausman, joined here as I am not usually joined here on Fridays. We usually have Christy Olson here joining us today, sitting in for Christy. I'm sure he'll get just as many marriage proposals in the comment section. It's Justin LaBar. Justin, welcome to the Wrestling Inc. Daily. Woo!
Good to be back. I mean, I hope it's just like riding a bike. I remember how to do this.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll screw it up, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. Hey, we're gonna have a great show here today, everybody. We got Justin in the house. You're in the house. Jump in the chat room. We're gonna be pulling chats up onto the screen here. We'll be talking with you as the show goes along here today. If you're listening to us in audio form, you're gonna get a great conversation later. Me, Bellator's Nick Newell. Nick is only got one hand, and he's the inspiration for this new movie, Notorious Nick. It is out now. Are you familiar with Nick Newell, Justin, or no?
I'm not, no.
Dude, this guy's got a crazy story, man. And used to be college roommates with Brian Myers when they were on a wrestling team together. Has a whole bunch of weird kind of crossovers with pro wrestling. So stick around for that. Nick Newell at the end of the show. And that'll debut over on our YouTube channel, 1 p.m. Eastern, so in a little less than an hour if you're watching us in video form. And at the end of the show, we'll dive into the mailbag. We're actually going to revisit some more Bellator conversation. Jake Hager getting into it with Gable Steveson here in the last 24 hours. So we'll talk about that little back and forth in the mailbag. But before we get to all of the breaking news of the day, there was some sad breaking news, unfortunately, yesterday, and that was the passing of legendary pro wrestler Dominic DeNucci. He was 89 years old. He began his career in Montreal. He went on to compete all over the world, best known as the original Dino Bravo tag team partner, adopting the name Dominic Bravo to compete as the Bravo brothers. He also teamed up with the likes of Bruno Sammartino, Pat Barrett, and Victor Riviera. After achieving a lot of success in Australia, DeNucci joined the WWF in 1967, capturing the WWF Intercontinental Tag Team Championship with Sammartino. Man, wow. DeNucci later made his name in WWF as an expert trainer, working with the likes of Hulk Hogan and Billy Graham. After spending 15 years in the WWF, DeNucci left the company in 1982 to open his own wrestling school where he trained future stars, infamously Mick Foley, Shane Douglas, Cody Michaels, Brian Hildebrand, Mark Curtis, The Undertaker, Moondog Spot, and then in 2012, he was inducted into the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. Justin, any thoughts on the passing of Dominic DeNucci?
Really sad. Dominic lived here in the Pittsburgh area. Such a nice guy, you know, and obviously he was before my time, but it was just great, you know, what I had read or saw of him in the archives. It was just great to talk to him and see a perspective from him of the business that was at a very different place through his, you know, when he was in his prime. The two best memories I have of him, of getting to shoot the breeze with him. One was when the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame used to be in Amsterdam, New York. The year that Bruno was accepting his ring, there was like 20 of us in the wrestling community here in Pittsburgh that were going up with Dominic and Bruno. It was like a caravan. And so getting to ride the road with Dominic and Bruno Sammartino for a couple of miles, that was fun. And then actually sitting with Dominic and again, and another large group of us, we were all sitting front row at Mick Foley's stand-up comedy some years ago here in Pittsburgh. So seeing Dominic laugh at Mick, you know, as you said, who trained, and now, you know, Mick obviously is going on to make a legendary career for himself. That was fun to do that with Dominic. He's got a good personality. So very sad news. Rest in peace, and my thoughts are with his family.
Wow, those are some incredible memories, Justin.
Yeah, he was a great guy. Just very, so nice. One of the nicest guys I've ever met.
And I want to do a correction real fast. My dyslexia seeping through from Polio Del Mar. Was it intercontinental or international tag titles? It was international. My eyes don't work with my brain sometimes. So apologies for that, but absolutely sending our best out to the family, the friends. I mean, obviously, like, there's so many people that were affected by the passing of Dominic, and just a sad day, you know. All right. Well, let's try to lighten the mood here a little bit, I guess, as we go into some news you can use. News that'll leave a bruise. Melancholy news, right? We've all been waiting forever to hear what's going on with Keith Lee, right? This guy has not been on TV. He came back. He gets weirdly booked. He's been teasing for a while that he's going to break his silence, and yesterday he finally did that. In a video that Keith posted, he said the doctors discovered heart issues after he had a battle with COVID-19 earlier this year. Lee also wanted to clear up some talk that his fiancee, Mia Yim, and her about her battle with COVID-19. Yim tested positive back in January. That forced her to miss the Rumble. Now, Lee revealed that he did not get the coronavirus from Yim, but she actually tested positive after being around him because she refused to stop giving care to him. So she loses her spot in the Rumble because she wanted to be by Keith's side, and that's how she got coronavirus. That's love, people, right? I mean, that's the whole thing right there, Justin. So Lee went on to reveal that the day after his match with Riddle in February, he received a call informing him that something was not right with his blood work. It was then discovered that he had an inflammation of the heart, and there was some concern that he may have had a heart disease. Lee said he fought death, but he was finally cleared when after WWE sent him to Pittsburgh, where Dr. Joseph Maroon is based. He also said it wasn't certain that he would be at the July 19th Raw in Dallas and on TV, but he's now healthy and he's focused and he's moving on. So, I mean, props to Mia for sticking by his side, and, you know, credit where credit is due to WWE's medical team. Sounds like they did everything by the book here in a way that may have, you know, given a lot more years to Keith Lee than he may have had this not been found.
Absolutely. And, you know, Keith, it's his personal medical business, so he did not have to do what he did in terms of, you know, revealing all this. But I think it is a good thing he did, because obviously, you know, in general, there's obviously been a lot of debate and unrest with how NXT talents, how their transition to Raw and SmackDown has been. And so there was that with Keith. You know, Keith comes to Raw, SmackDown, comes to Raw, and, you know, they're changing his music, which that got people in uproar. His ring gear constantly being changed, and obviously he, you know, doesn't have the traditional look that we would say. And so I think there was obviously a lot of speculation, a lot of you know, oh, there's problems with the office, or oh, Vince doesn't like him or whatever. And so I'm glad that he's putting this putting that to rest and saying this is what it was, is much more serious than some arguments over music or ring gear. This was life and death kind of stuff. And obviously the most important thing is that at, you know, the end of the story, at least for this chapter of that, is that he and Mia are both okay and are continuing on with their careers now. So I'm glad that he did what he did.
Yeah, I am too, right? Really kind of resets the table that we're not focused on the stuff outside the ring anymore. Now, hopefully we can get back to focusing on Keith in the ring. And that's kind of where I wanted to go with this, Justin. So Mia Yim, great. Good Dr. Joseph Maroon. Everybody that caught this, wonderful. All right. So now that we're done speculating about what was going on outside of the ring, I mean, let's look at what they've done with Keith Lee in the 4 weeks that he has been back. Like, none of this explains the weird booking with Karrion Kross or like how he beat Kross and then he was on Dark. He was the Dark match the next week. I mean, if we're just now supposed to be talking about Keith Lee's creative, which is fine, like, what's going on, man? Like, I would have done better by this guy, especially after everything he went through.
Sure. Yeah. And they need to get back on track. And it might be, you know, I don't want to use it as a cop out. It just might be, obviously everything right now is building to SummerSlam. Maybe it's once we get through SummerSlam, there's a, you know, that's the next shift, the next reset. And hopefully they have something for him where it is not so sporadic of he's winning 1 week, losing 1 week on a Dark match the next. Because, yeah, I mean, the guy is, again, he doesn't have a traditional look, but that's part of his charm, is the fact that he doesn't have that traditional look. And he's as athletic as he is. And look, I mean, here's a guy who looked great against, or I think it was Roman Reigns at a Survivor Series. Here's a guy who had an awesome moment with Brock Lesnar that got, you know, the Brock, and just that one mouthing of, look at this big MFer, you know, gets Keith over. So, I mean, this guy in little spurts has impressed the right coworkers. You have to see that. You have to understand that if you're the office, that there's something here with this guy. So yeah, I really hope they do get the creative on point with him.
Yeah, and I do wonder, because I was at that Chicago show where him and Kross, I think that was the one where he beat Kross. But like the whole match, man, the place was just chanting for Keith Lee. There's this kind of organic relationship that he has where people just want to root for him. And then after dropping this video, man, dude, this guy's going to get a hero's welcome the next time he goes out there. So I hope that this isn't, maybe I'm hoping they took him off, put him on Dark, put him in the dark match this past week just because they're like, we gotta reset the table here. What are we doing right now? And I hope that you're right, that this is a chance for them to kind of reset here, maybe right after SummerSlam or something. But just, I mean, a knowable miss in those 3 weeks, the way they booked him and Cross, like knowable that was not probably the best use of those guys.
Well, and it was probably too a last minute plan. I mean, obviously it seemed like the plan was for Cross and Jeff Hardy, rightly or wrongly, to have this series of matches after Hardy, surprisingly beats Cross on his Raw debut, and then Hardy ends up getting, I believe he got COVID. So yeah. That changed things right there. So I mean, why they chose Keith Lee to get plugged, but yeah,
again,
I hope
that's what I'm saying, Justin.
but
that's what I'm saying, Justin.
Like, not that you don't have 20 other guys that are chasing the 24/7 title that we could toss out there to have a match with Cross. But
like, okay, all right. So the reason he wasn't on TV, we thought, did he have heat? No, there's no heat. He was just on the verge of dying. All right. So you know what? Well, now that he's back, I guess we can use a heat up Cross, whatever. We also have Dino Garofalo here saying, and we'll use this before we get on to some other news here, some other really big news. Dino Garofalo, well, if they build him up after SummerSlam, he could be Lashley's next challenger since there's no one left after Oldberg. She said it. I didn't say it.
I mean, that's something that comment is on the assumption that Lashley's retaining, which I don't. This isn't a SummerSlam prediction show, but I don't know if that's going to be happening.
Dude, how do they have Dude, if Goldberg beats Lashley, I mean, I get that there's a lot more kids at these shows these days than adults. It really has, because I was thinking about this morning because I was talking about it with some people yesterday. How it was just so, because I've been to AEW and WWE shows now recently, post-pandemic or in pandemic, but times that people can attend things again. Right? Weird gray area. The AEW is now older brothers and single guys looking to get drunk and yell at wrestling. WWE is your starter fed, right? Like this is you're an adult wrestling fan who watches AEW, but your wife does not want you to take the kids to go watch AEW because Nick Gage could, slice somebody up with a pizza cutter. So you get to take your kids to WWE, which is the safer pro wrestling product, right? And even in that space, I don't know that Goldberg gets cheered the night after beating a Bobby Lashley, man. Like that seems like a step too far for me.
Well, my thought, again, I don't want to go too into. I just don't. I think we have Money in the Bank at play. I don't think Lashley or Goldberg is going to end the week as world champion. I think they'll find another way.
Man, okay. Dellin here saying, can we get Big E to cash in to take the championship or Universal title? Can we please have Keith Lee versus Big E for the championship? I like Keith Lee, Bobby Lashley better because it's just a straight on babyface dynamic.
Yeah. Keith Lee against Big E, it's too much babyface going on there.
Too much baby, too big man slapping meat, whatever it is you say, meaty men. So last item here from WWE, and then the rest of the show, largely all AEW stuff, and we have a big AEW item to kick off that block. But PW Insider saying word from NXT is that the issue that kept Ember Moon out of the ring on Tuesday night was described as, quote, not serious. She was backstage, so hopefully Ember Moon not out of the ring too long. I guess that's my last WWE item here.
Yeah, I agree. Ember Moon's I love her look. She stands out. I love her finishing move. I'm all about finishers that are different. So yeah, I'm a big Ember Moon fan. So hopefully that report is 100% true and it's not too serious.
I agree. All right, let's kick off our AEW run of news here. The big breaking news of the morning. Well, first of all, we'll start yesterday. So Ric Flair, he took to Twitter. He posted this clip from a 2007 Raw segment in the lead up to his retirement at WrestleMania 34 in 2008, where he declared that he will never actually retire. He captioned that clip with, "I will never retire." Woo! All right. And he's like looking good. So then the Observer this morning reports that word going around is that Flair seems to be a lock and to be headed to AEW when he's legally able to do so. No word on when Ric Flair's non-compete with WWE is going to expire. But if he's under a 90-day clause, then he should be able to become a free agent after Monday, November 1st. Flair, of course, publicly said the split with WWE was positive. There's no word on what AEW might have in store for Flair. Could be some kind of managerial role. It seems unlikely that he's going to make a return to the ring, but I guess anything's possible. Justin, what do you think of the Ric Flair AEW rumors?
I mean, I agree. I think it is inevitable that he will wind up there. I mean, he's not gonna have a match, but
Is he?
No, he won't.
Okay.
No.
All right. Go ahead.
No, I look at him would be in the same kind of role as a Jake the Snake, or Tully. I'm not saying he won't get a little physical, but I don't think he's going to be doing a Sting and coming back and having some tag matches. But I think it's inevitable he ends up at AEW. They have shown that they like to use legends in the business and, use them pretty well in terms of just trying to, have that rub with all the talent. I think it's inevitable he ends up there. They're the other big game in town. Obviously, they can afford what a Ric Flair would want. Might not be as much as he was making WWE, but at least it'll be something he'd be willing to do it for. And he's gonna publicly say that his split with WWE is positive. He's gonna say that for as long as his daughter is still there.
Of course.
If that ever changes, we'll see. But I think it's inevitable he ends up at AEW.
Polo Del Mar, hey, look, Tully wrestled. That's true, Justin. Tully Blanchard did wrestle. They hit him in a tag match.
Yeah, well, I mean, Rick physically though. I mean, Rick can say it all he wants. I just don't see that happening. But
I don't rule anything out with Ric Flair. First of all,
no, I'm not ruling out that he doesn't spend 3 hours at the bar one night trying to convince Tony Khan, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
I mean, there's a lot for Rick to do over there, right? Andrade's there, right? And now that Rick and Andrade seem to be drifting to AEW, I'm not really totally sold that is a given that Charlotte is like right that far behind. And I've seen a couple people here that like, yeah, Samantha, Charlotte to AEW. I've seen a couple people say that. That's not a given to me, Justin.
I don't think it's a given, but I definitely think they all are related. The situation's related. You know what I mean? Literally and figuratively. I do think the fact that her fiance, soon to be husband, is there, the fact that her dad could possibly be there. I don't think it's out of the question that whenever her current contract is up, that she doesn't look at, what opportunities are there, especially when you just look at it from the point of, I mean, yeah, WWE's been good to her. Obviously, she's making a lot of money. She's been booked as the strongest woman in the last 5 years for them. But it's also the point of, okay, what else can you do? What else can she do booking wise? She might look around and go, okay, well, who have I not worked with? What's there still? How many more, and it might just be, hey, this is another opportunity over here. So I don't think it's a given either, but I definitely think she's definitely going to have it as leverage, if nothing else, whenever this current contract is up.
We have in the city here saying, could it be the Four Horsemen? Nobody knows. I mean, if Rick's going there, Arn's there, Tully's there, JJ Dillon dropped by for a cup of coffee one night. I mean, I believe the last time that we had Rick on for an interview for the site that I did with him, he was, to say the least, not on great terms with Arn Anderson, right? There was something where Arn didn't show up to Reed's funeral, and Rick said these things that everybody picked up and regurgitated everywhere. I don't really know how Rick operates. At the time, it sounded to me like AEW is not really an option for him, and that seemed like he was definitively saying that. But I don't know in retrospect if Rick wasn't. I don't know how personal Rick is. Is this how he talks to people? Like, rather than picking up the phone and calling the person, did he call me and want to like say it that way to get it out there? I'm not really sure. But if he's going to AEW, we're gonna see a Horseman reunion, right?
Or some involvement, whether it's a reunion or whether it's, look, you got, Arn straps himself, with Cody and Cody's, group. And then obviously Tully, is where he is. I mean, who's to say that Rick doesn't attach himself to an MJF or somebody that you could liken to a young Ric Flair type of character. So yeah, I think any which way, there's no way you're going to avoid having Four Horsemen people interact, whether it's as a reunion or whether it's as a, I'm in the corner of this guy. Yeah, it's inevitable. You can't avoid that.
Yeah, and Polya here also noting Malenko and Sting also have ties with the Horsemen, right? Mm-hmm. Malenko, obviously, WCW days, Sting a little further back. And yeah, Sting and Ric Flair. We're gonna. Do we see a cinematic match? Does Ric Flair get to battle Sting one more time in a well-produced Darby Allin piece?
I wouldn't take that off the table. And look, when Sting made his surprising debut in December at AEW, that was my thought was, okay, here's a chance to go ahead and you can do a lot of cinematic stuff with him. I did not, I was surprised to see him do as much to date that he's done live in a ring.
He's got a tag match. He's having a tag match on Wednesday against the former Ever-Rise. Justin.
Yeah, dude. On Wednesday when he did the suplex on the ramp, I'm like, that's no simple back bump to be taken there, and he got up, he did it. So yeah, I mean, he surprised me. Again, I don't think Rick's gonna go that far, but I think the cinematic match has definitely changed and opened up a lot of opportunities in the business. So yeah, that's always a possibility.
I like this one from '89, the brainchild Ricky Starks and Ric Flair. Don't hate that. Very, very well dressed man. All right. Well, WrestleNomics reporting in a news item that certainly wasn't completely blown out of proportion yesterday by literally 80% of the IWC. Wednesday's live edition of Dynamite did 979,000 viewers. I think the Observer may have had it up a little more than that, but that's what we seem to be settled into. This is down 11.2 from last week's homecoming edition of Dynamite. Dynamite did a 0.35 rating in the 18 to 49. Now, that was down 24% from the week before. That one caught my eye, man. 1 in 4 people in their demo left from this past week. And while they didn't have the Olympics this week, they were head-to-head with The Challenge on MTV at 8 p.m. Eastern. So that topped the night in the 18 to 49 demo with a 0.38. So even still, Dynamite's viewership up 24% from last year at this time, 9.4% up in the key demo from last year at this time. So up from where they were. And this wasn't like something nobody saw coming. When The Challenge came back, I think a lot of people knew it was going to be competition for AEW.
Yeah, I don't understand the panic that I've seen, as you mentioned, by some on the internet. Look, what goes up has to come down. It's not like it was like a massive drop. I mean, look, they've been over $1 million for 4 weeks straight. So at some point you're going to drop down. And I'll be objective. Obviously, it's great to have the main event that it was, Wardlow and Jericho and the fourth labor and all that. But really, if you look at the show objectively, if you're a super AEW fan, good for you. But I ask you really to try to take a step back. If you look at that show, it wasn't like a stack show. There was a lot of, I don't want to say fluff, but it just there wasn't a ton. Everything was really built around Britt being in Pittsburgh, this Wardlow match, and it's also they're putting a lot of time to build to the debut of Rampage tonight. They're putting everything storyline wise. There's a lot of things that are being set in place for the big Chicago trip next week. So it was a little bit of a kind of a, I don't want to say an off week, but I'm not surprised that there was a decline. And then if you look at other competition you might have to deal with, so people need to relax. I suspect AEW will get over 1 million viewers next week.
It definitely was kind of I hate to say like an off week, but man, the one thing that caught my eye in that, they did like 3 minutes straight of announcing upcoming matches for multiple different shows, and they did them all at once. And I sat there and I had to I was like, how long have I been watching match announcements? I went back. It was like 3 minutes. Between Rampage tomorrow night, the first dance the next week, they got upcoming Dynamite, also the stuff with All Out. Yeah, dude, they were setting the table with this show. This was not the main dish by any stretch.
No.
Yeah. Well, anyway, also the Acclaim's Anthony Bowens, he worked a singles match at Wednesday's AEW Dark Elevation in Pittsburgh. There was no sign of Max Caster. The Acclaimed were also removed from the official AEW tag team rankings this week. Previously, they'd been ranked number 3. Now, Caster has been quiet on social media, but this week he started liking numerous official WWE tweets. The archive of his like tweets shows that he rarely does this. He also has not liked any official AEW tweets in that same period, which he usually does. Caster has not posted any content since the controversy around his rap on the 100th episode of Dynamite. Furthermore, Aubrey Edwards has announced that Bowens is going to be on an upcoming edition of AEW's Unrestricted podcast. They did not mention Caster, but she did invite fans to submit their questions for Bowens, who has not commented on Caster, the status of their tag team, or last week's controversy. I'll kick it to you first, Justin. I definitely have thoughts on this one, but what do you think?
First off, strange timing to decide to have Bowens on a podcast and open up the fan submission.
Dude, I think it's in poor taste. Honestly, like it feels like you're trying to capitalize on something in this moment that is really nothing to be proud of.
Yeah. So. I don't agree with what Max Caster's, I don't agree with what he decided to go with in the rap. But and Tony Khan, I mean, look, you don't want your inmates to start to run the asylum. You want to remind people, you can try to be, a player's coach. You can try to be, but you still have to make sure you're the boss. There still has to be standards and practices and protocols in place and so this is him exercising that, saying, you bad choice in your decision of what you went to go with. Tony's took his share of it. He went on and busted open and said, he's going to be more involved and he's going to make sure he knows about things like this. But yeah, I don't know. This is I'm more kind of stuck on the why would you decide to have his tag team? Why would you put his tag team partner front and center at this point? You're just making the story even more. What's the word I'm trying to find here?
You're scandalous. Yeah. Yeah. Here's the thing. I agree with you. I don't agree with what Max said. I don't think it should have made it to TV, but I also feel like AEW is doing him a little dirty here. I feel like he's getting thrown under the bus here a little bit. I talked to some people. This has been a hot topic amongst people I've just been talking to in the business. One thing that has come up is that, like, when this is not the first time Max has said something that needed to be rewritten or redone, right? Because it has crossed the line. That has happened before, but in the past it was caught, didn't make it to TV, re-edited, whatever. Okay. So they know that Max is willing to kind of walk that line there, right? The fact that there is nobody on the editing side, the production side, that has been named or punished is a little glaring to me. They seem to want the heat to be on Max. They don't seem to want it to be on the production side of things, or I think we'd know more. I also think that by not publicly saying what you're doing to reprimand this guy has created a huge cacophony. It's a shit show, right? Like, you have Ringside News over here breaking about his suspension and all this therapy and stuff, and it sounds very reminiscent of what happened with Sammy Guevara, and that's fine. Go that route. They obviously wanted to love Sammy. We see the best in Sammy. He's going to come out of this on the other side after he's done some thinking. They're not doing any of that with Max Caster. And, like, I think that, I mean, obviously with the WWE stuff, they're pissing him off. Yeah. And, like, right now he's under contract. He got the All Elite thing. He's there. That's his job. He's going to do what he has to do. But, like, on the other side of this thing, I mean, if you really want to spin this guy up, I don't know what he's going to say on the other side, because it does seem like the guy's getting the short end of the stick here from AEW in this situation, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we don't know what he's been told in the past. We don't know what kind of encouragement he was given of, like, oh, the gimmick's over, and when he has done some raps that have been controversial or have been like, ooh, but not to the point of what this most recent one was. So who knows what he was being told and coached, and now you're getting this kind of a treatment. So this is certainly an example of a growing pain of a young company. Yes. AEW gets a lot of praise, and a lot of it's deserved. But they still have that new car smell, and we forget that they're still a new company, and so growing pains like this are going to have. They haven't experienced these things before, so this is exactly what this is.
And dude, the Anthony Bowens thing on the podcast, like, you're asking the fans what they want to hear Bowens talk about right now in this situation. Like, come on. Like, it almost feels like it's like they have a vendetta against this guy. Like, they want to bury him dead and not be able to talk because they got him in a contract casket. The way they handled this versus the way they handled the Sammy thing is very, very different. And I really hope that they kind of reset the table on this right now, because it all feels very, very weird to me. I like this here from 89, the Brainchild. Swerve versus Max on NXT. Loser can't rap anymore. Top dollar, the best rapping wrestler, so he can stay. There you go. I like that, right? Start thinking about fantasy booking Max Caster in the world of NXT. All right, moving on. PWInsider.com saying the plan was always for Adam Page to take some family time off in advance of his first child being born, and that is why he wasn't on Dynamite this week in Pittsburgh. He turned 30 back in July. He took to Twitter in early June, and now he and his wife, Amanda, are expecting their first child. They've been married since 2016. No word on when she's going to give birth or when Page is going to return to storylines. He is not included in promotional graphics for AEW FanFest, scheduled for All Out Week in early September. But he is on the poster for the September 22nd Grand Slam edition of Dynamite in New York City. So it does just kind of seem like they pumped the brakes on Adam Page here for whatever reason, and are waiting to kind of reheat him up here after All Out. That seems how it looks to me, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, congrats to him and his wife. Expecting a new child. It is and look, that would be certainly good marquee main event, him versus Omega for the big show in Queens. But it is a little odd. Like you had such momentum. I mean, these fans, they made a point to make sure that like Omega didn't even say his name. Like, and Omega was saying, "Oh, there's nobody else left for me to beat." And, the fans were chanting Hangman Page, and he's getting the loudest pop. So it is a bit inconvenient timing that you have that momentum, and then it's getting halted by him not being on TV. And sometimes absence makes heart grow fonder, but then you also have distractions like CM Punk buzz and rumors. So I hope that they can reclaim the momentum and energy that was so organic. The fans were getting behind Page, and they can cash in and pay that off.
It is kind of. I mean, I do wonder what it's going to look like here in the next year when the top main event becomes no longer the AEW stalwarts and fan favorites. Everybody seems to be going along with it right now because I think everybody's very excited about Punk and Bryan and stuff. But Christian Cage got a pop, I think, when he walked out, and ever since then seems to be like the ire of the AEW universe that he's seemingly, getting, I hate to say, like shoved down their throats, but definitely pushed into that main event picture that I don't think the fans are ready to see him in yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, yeah, you're right. There's a buzz right now, but but every time somebody gets released, what's the first thing so many fans want to jump to? Every time somebody's done a round of releases this year, is fantasy booking starts on every single one of them in AEW. So it's like, make up your mind, people. What do you want? Do you want homegrown AEW or do you
I think they want homegrown, right? I did think that it was interesting that the Joey Janela heel turn got some love on Dynamite because just looking at the analytics for the site, I could tell you that was top 3 AEW story for all of last week, and it probably should have been on Dynamite, truthfully.
Sure.
So there's definitely an appetite there with these AEW fans to see the Janellas and the Pages, Jungle Boys, Orange Cassidys, Darbys, succeed.
And I'll be curious once we see, once Rampage sets in, if there's what the identity of the two shows become. Like, what's Dynamite's identity? What's Rampage's identity? What's the identity then become of Dark and some of the online only shows? Do we see more homegrown on this? Do we see more of the former WWE guys here? Yeah, I'll be curious if there is any, if you can notice any identity, or if it's all still pretty blended.
Last item here before we get to Nick Newell, for those listening in audio form. Again, if you're watching this in video form, about half hour away from that debuting over on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. And of course, we'll dive into the mailbag. We're going to have a real fun conversation about Jake Hager and Gable Steveson. I'm really excited about that one. But Sunday night's main event, back with another quote here from CM Punk that just paid more bills for the site. So CM Punk was asked what he thinks about WWE's product. I mean, tailor-made for our website. He says, no, I had to watch a little bit when I was an analyst at Fox, but I mean, how do I say this diplomatically? No, I think they've got some people who are super awesome and great in the ring, but nothing grabs me to get me to want to watch. So I think CM Punk saying what we all probably thought CM Punk would say when he got asked something like that. Yes? No?
That's a CM Punk response if there ever was one.
All right, Justin, thank you for joining me at the top of the show to talk all the news today. Man, we are lively here today in the chat room. Tons of viewers. Guys, stick around. We got more to go here. We're about to dive into the mailbag. But, of course, Nick Newell, thank you so much for dropping by, talking with me. Really, I became a big fan because of this interview, and I love getting to meet people like that who I don't really know a lot about, but really grabbed me, and Nick's certainly one of those people. Go check out Notorious Nick, available now wherever you can rent movies or stream movies, anything like that. All right, today's poll question stems from what was largely just a Twitter feud, or kind of, I don't know what this is. You tell me. So Jake Hager, he tweeted the following yesterday: I bet $20,000 that Gable Steveson could not take me down. Any takers? Now, Gable Steveson, of course, Olympic gold medalist, just won the Olympic gold. He responded with the following: if you want to lose 20K in 5 seconds, then let's go. Bellator president Steve Coker chimed in, encouraging this fight, of course, right? Carney's going to Carney. So Hager tweeted back, well, someone has to pay the taxes for your gold. Would you like Houston, Chicago, or New York? Steven ended the exchange saying, never heard of you, burn, but DM for my address. I'm guessing if he wants to show up and try to kick his ass or something like that. So my poll question here is, if Hager and Steveson fought in an MMA match, who do you think would win? Over 250 votes. 64-4 Gable Steveson, 35-6 Jake Hager, 2-1 odds. That's actually better than I thought Hager was going to get here. What do you think of this exchange, Justin?
you're always working. There's always money to be made.
It was smart of Hager to try to get in on this right now. I'm surprised that he's the first to call out Gable, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. We workers gonna work.
I don't know. Now, when it comes down to the actual fight, like Gable Stevenson's Olympic gold medalist, prime of his career. That is a hard thing to argue, but he's not a striker, right? And Hager's had time to practice striking and getting hit in the face and stuff. So I don't actually count out Hager if they went on full on, like in a cage, one-on-one. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I agree. I mean, it's one thing if it's just a wrestling, an actual amateur or not, an actual wrestling match. But if you put them in an MMA situation, I mean, yeah, Hager with his size and striking ability, I mean, I'm not counting him out either.
Yeah, I think that Hager would have a pretty good shot. I'm all about it. And it was funny because in the Nick Newell interview, I asked him about Hager, because I was like, oh, he's a wrestler, in MMA. Do you guys talk? And I also just kind of off time, I was like, I think Bobby Lashley is also still a Bellator. Doesn't he have like 2 or 3 fights still under his Bellator contract or something like that?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't be shocked, though. I mean,
I think because he was in the middle of it, and then he wanted to bounce back to WWE, and Scott Coker was like, not Steve Coker, Scott Coker, by the way, was like, yeah, go do the WWE thing. We'll keep these fights on your contract. So I think whenever Bobby's done with WWE, if he wants to have some fights, I think he's going to go back to Bellator.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. Let's see. Is there anything in here I want to throw up here? Nothing really about Hager. We have Polio. Hager's legit, not an idiot when it comes to capitalize the current hype. True.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Humphrey, considering that the Olympian is 21 and Hager's almost 40, I'm betting on the kid. Wow. Huh. All right. Mixed partial farts. Wow. I think this is going to be the last comment of the day. Olympians destroy NCAA wrestlers. Look at Lesnar and Angle. Look at Chad Gable and Dolph Ziggler. All right. There you go. Well, Justin, I want to thank you so much for coming back to the show. It's always wonderful to get to talk pro wrestling with you. I'll be back on Monday. I'll be joined by Michael Weissman. On Monday, we're going to air my interview with Brody King. Brody kind of breaks some big news that I don't think is out there yet in this interview. So I'll just tease it at that. I won't give it away. Come back on Monday. Brody King's in the house. Also, if you like the Wrestling Inc. Daily, support WrestlingInc.com. We have a brand new redesign. The site looks beautiful. Have you seen this thing, Justin?
It does. Yeah, it looks great.
Dude, Raj has been toiling away on this redesign for a long time now. And as the guy who day to day has to try to keep other things moving on the site, Raj being unavailable to do meetings and things like that because he's been so bogged down in this has been a thing. It's been a worthy thing. And I am so happy to see everything that is going on right now. Beautiful site. Great job, Raj. Thank you all so much for the kind words about that. We're on all your socials. The Wrestling Podcast, as most nights here after the big shows, you can join us. Justin's on sometimes. I see Isa was in here earlier. All the great names and voices at night. The Wrestling Podcast. Jump in for that. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And, of course, tonight in Chicago, Friday the 13th, Replay Lincoln Park, right up the street, Diversity in Sheffield. I'm going to be hosting the official Chicago AEW Rampage premiere party. Warner Media put the press release out about it, I think, yesterday. So a lot more people know about it now. It's free to attend. We have a lot of AEW swag we're going to be giving away. If you come over and you say, hi, Nick, I saw this on the Daily, maybe more likely to get that swag. But it's going to be a really fun party. It's going to be great. And I want to make Replay Lincoln Park a pro wrestling bar. So if you come out and we fill this place, that's going to go a long way in doing that. Free arcade games, too. Free pinball. It's wonderful. Justin, what do you want to plug, promote, put over here to wrap up the show today?
Follow me on social media at Justin LaBar. It's got, when I'm on the nighttime here, Wrestling Inc. post shows. It's got my SiriusXM Busted Open schedule. Got IWC Wrestling show tomorrow. IWC Wrestling, which got a shout out on Dynamite. It was the home where Britt Baker and Wardlow started. So, great shows there. So if you can get in the Pittsburgh area tomorrow night, we got a great bit of action. So all kinds of stuff going on. Hit the follow button.
I caught that. It was a really good night for the IWC on Dynamite, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm at Nick_Hausman. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you Monday. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.